welcome to Kay's Tiny House, where I provide updates as I build my very own tiny house. Today I'm actually at the house because I wanted to share the electrical updates. We have completed electrical rough-in as well as some extra vents, so let's get into it. So electrical is very similar to plumbing in the sense that there is a lot of pre-planning that you have to do before you can actually start doing the thing. And so for electrical, I had an idea of where I wanted switches and outlets and lights and a ceiling fan and things like that, but I didn't have like specifics. So I drew up a very rough draft of a plan. And then when we were ready to actually get started, I had to then mark the house where every switch would be and where every outlet box would be. So Doug, who was an electrician in his past life, was able to help me kind of the norms and how to do certain things. So one example is when you are marking, for an outlet, you have this little symbol to tell you which way the box goes, and then this circle with two lines. For switches, like a $sign for each switch, so you can't really see it, but there's three, because there will be 3 switches. And also, well, he's already made up the wires, but I also learned how to crimp the wires, so when you wire them through the outlet, you can mark which wire is for which switch, this being 1 line, 2 lines, and then 3 lines. So that was kind of cool to like learn how, professionals did it and the symbols and markings that they use. So we are in the kitchen right now, and probably the hardest thing to do was to figure out exactly where some of these outlets went. So this one will go to the stove and the oven. This one will be for the fridge. So I had to look in my plans for exactly what measurements and where those things went. You can see I also drilled a hole for a propane gas line here to fuel the stove. The stove is the only thing that will be run with gas. Everything else is electrical. Once we had identified where everything went, we then were able to start adding the wire. So Doug drilled holes and found the ideal paths for where the wire should go. And then I pulled these wires through. And you think, oh, that's easy, but it's not. It's really hard because these wires, this is the 12-3, it's really thick. And getting through these corners is tough. And you can see how many lines we had to run through these holes, especially these close to the outlet. And it was a lot. Fitting them through this hole was pretty tricky. Running the 12-3 is for all of the 20 amp circuits. So that's mostly the stuff in the kitchen as well as this exterior outlet right here. I also learned how to skip outlets. So this one is wired here and then it connects to this one over here. And so this outlet is connected on the same line as that outlet over there and kind of skipping through as you go. Once all of the 12-3 was wired, I was then able to work on the 14-3, which is this smaller, skinnier wire, way easier to handle because it is so much smaller. And these were for all the 15 amp circuits. So that was basically everything else in the house. So the reason I have to run it this way is because it's got to go all the way to the living room. So this is kind of where the living room starts. Up here's the fridge, so that'll end here, and then this is where the sofa will be. So coming up with these outlets, there's one in this wall that's shared with the bathroom, and sorry, there's a bunch of insulation in the way. This one will be for the TV. So this was interesting because I knew that I wanted a TV that mounted on the wall, so preparing for that by installing this guy and its partner down there. And then I'm going to attach this leftover PVC pipe that I had from my plumbing adventures, and that's what the wire will go down. So planning for that. For the switches, I knew that I wanted to control the lights in the living room, the ceiling fan and light in the living room, and last, the porch light. So I'll come out here. Doug very smartly recommended we use a pancake box for this wiring so that we didn't have to drill a hole all the way through, and Phil very graciously took care of that. There's also the doorbell. So I wanted it around here, so I just drilled a little hole for these smaller wires. And did you know that doorbell technology has not changed a whole lot in the past 30 or so years? So even though we have all of these smart technologies, where is my... So I purchased a Google Nest camera, or a Google Nest doorbell, whatever they're called, and they just basically hijack whatever current doorbell system you have. And so you'd think that that would have changed, but it really hasn't. So basically doorbells use this thing called a transformer, and this thing I've decided to put over here, but it basically sticks out. It's ugly and it sticks out here, and you basically take the 110 wire and lower that voltage so that it then, you can follow this tiny gray wire up, and it's gonna go up there where the chime box will be. And the chime box is the thing that goes ding dong when the doorbell rings. And then that chime box will connect to the actual doorbell out here. And so that was great. And I guess usually transformers are hidden in an attic or something. Luckily, I will have stairs here, not this stool step, and they will also be storage. So I'll be able to access this transformer once it's installed there. And this was just a very convenient location because it's near all the other doorbell stuff, but it did take some extra time and thought for that. So the bathroom has two switches, one for the lights and one for the fan. Up here is my bed. So I couldn't put the fan up here without it being very difficult to figure out where that vent for that fan would go. So I decided to get a unit that could fit in the wall, and that is this guy here. And you can kind of tell that it's like an oval shape so that it fits within the 2x4 wall. And so luckily I found this guy that converts it from an oval shape to a circle to fit the exterior vent cover box. But this was a whole situation because this oval was the exact same size as this oval. So we had to crimp this guy, and then I kind of cut slits on the bottom of this guy so that they could cap over one another, and then we used that foil tape to tape them together. There will be a GFCI plug here because this is where the sink will be, and then Doug also placed a light fixture box here so that I can add a light. So now we are upstairs in the gooseneck, and you can see we've got the wire coming from the electrical box, or the home run wires as they're called. It goes over the door and into the gooseneck. And here were other areas where we had to be mindful. There's a switch here for the lights. Because these ceilings aren't as steep or vaulted, I got some normal like recessed can lights that I will install. Doug has already put in the boxes for those. Here we'll have the water heater, power. Here will just be an extra plug, but this will basically be in my like wardrobe closet. And then we have a couple outlets for the washer and the dryer. I also have, this is where my bed will be, and you can see we've sheathed this thanks to Phil. Helped me out a lot with screwing this guy on. But you can see there's an outlet for next to my bed for like an alarm clock or something. And then this guy I bought on a whim. It's a light box, but it has this bracket on it. And I was like, oh, I don't know, I bet we'll need that. And we ended up using it because I knew I wanted to have a wall sconce light here. And so yeah, that was very handy dandy. I had forgotten that we had ran some of this wire through the floor. So you can see the one for the water heater and the one for the washer dryer is coming up through the floor. So I had kind of accidentally still ran the wire through as if it were all connected, especially for this water heater. Luckily, Doug caught it when he was making up the wires, so he was able to fix it. A thing I did not really think about were my vaulted ceilings and for lighting. So they do make canned lights that can like rotate within, but it's really hard to find a box that fits within this 2x6. So I decided to just put in normal light boxes, and I found some cool fixtures that have hinges where I can point the light fixtures down. So I'm not like blinding myself. And then temporarily, Doug put in these light bulbs so we could have extra lighting from them as well. Then the last tricky part was the ceiling fan. So again, vaulted ceilings, but on Amazon, I found this mounting box for specifically vaulted ceilings. And Phil very graciously took the time of figuring out how to install it. We had to put in an extra piece of wood going the other way so that he could mount it, and that took some figuring out. So that was very cool. But now I can hang a ceiling fan straight down. So the last thing I needed to do to unblock myself from insulation was putting in the rest of the vents. So here is the stove range hood will go here, and that was a big 6-inch hole that had to be drilled in, and that was crazy. I thought Doug's arm was gonna yank off with that drill. Luckily, Phil had a 6-inch hole saw that I could borrow, so we were able to do it. Phil also cut out the metal on the other side, but right next to it is power for the hood because the cord goes through that chimney part of the hood. And then the last vent that I had to do was for the dryer. So I figured out where the dryer vent would go and how it would fit into this cabinet area here. And this was basically the only spot for it. So I drilled that, and that's only a 4-inch hole, which is the same as the exhaust fan in the bathroom. So here we're in the back of the gooseneck, and you can see the vent cap for the dryer. And then underneath the gooseneck, this is the vent cap for the bathroom fan. And you can see here, it like perfectly fits, even though I had started drilling a hole higher up because in the bathroom, it just looks like a big wall. And then luckily, before I was like halfway through, Phil caught me and realized, oh, that hole is not gonna work if you want this vent cap cover. So we were able to pivot and make it fit, which it does perfectly. And then last but not least is the oven or stove hood range. And this one's kind of different because it's a 6-inch one. So again, I just found that one on Amazon. And there you go. Next to my mini split on this same wall is where I decided to have the exterior outlet. And I got this cover at Home Depot so that it would be waterproof. And I got a 20 amp, which is what this little line means, outlet for it, and now it is protected. And today it rained, so that was good testing for that. So what are you doing, Doug?
Hey! I'm wiring the panel.
Excellent.
I just wired the fridge outlet with a 15-amp breaker on its own circuit. The other living room.
We have finished the electrical, and this is the breaker panel box. You can see it's all very neat. Doug in his past life was an electrician, so that is a very good gift to have when you're doing electrical roughing for a tiny house. Thank you so much for watching this video. It has been so much fun. Electrical was a task that was filled with a bunch of mini tasks that I was not aware of before, and I'd never done that before. So it was interesting, and I learned something new every step of the way. Next up is insulation, which is why that's all up in the way. So I will definitely post a video about that when it's done. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.